and welcome. This is going to be a what sold video. This is everything that sold for me on not live selling platforms from March 1st to March 7th. Miss Moxie, of course, is here, very much so. But we're actually going to start with Etsy first because I did make an Etsy sale and I think it's a good one. So Miss Moxie, can we switch? Thank you. And I'm sorry. I know. Hi, baby. And it is this set of Libby glasses from the 70s. They were yellow and I sold them for $40. Now on Etsy, my Etsy store is set up so if you spend more than $35, it's free shipping. That just means that if with shipping, the price is going to be over $35, I just mark it at whatever the price is going to be with shipping. So I only paid $4 for the glasses, so $1 a glass, because I believe I got these at the Dav, and as such and after shipping, which actually was only $10, I made, $25 profit, which I thought was wonderful, especially for a set of glasses, and I thought that this was lovely. And now Miss Moxie is going to get moved again, which I'm sure she's not going to be upset about because she's getting touched, and that's all she wants is all the attention, as you guys can tell from the fact that she will not leave me alone. But you guys seem to like that, so I guess we're all okay. So I stumbled across a bulk set of ties where they were selling the ties for $1.50 each. I love selling ties. If it's not for you, you do you, but they are lightweight. Most of the time they're cheap. Some thrift stores in my area now have gone up to where ties are $5 a price, and there are very few ties that I will pick up for $5. But for $1.50, I did pick up this YSL tie. It was a 55-inch tie, which means it is a shorter tie. And it is vintage. I didn't know exactly when vintage it was. Shorter ties, so ties shorter than 57 inches, can either be due to the fact that they are made for a shorter gentleman, or it could be for the fact that they are vintage enough to where the waistbands of people's pants were higher. So, how's the best way to say it? So like 30s, 40s, and 50s, like men's pants came either at or a little bit above the natural waist, and your tie is supposed to like touch your waistband. So a lot of like really vintage ties are going to seem like they're kids ties because they're so short, but they're actually adult ties. Do you need to know that? No. YSL tie, paid $1.50, sold it for $15. You guys seem to like my info dimes, so I try not to go too far into it, but I love selling ties. This is an item I actually found at the bins. I offered it up on Whatnot. It did not sell on Whatnot, but it did sell on eBay. This is a Nike piece. I pick up men's Nike, especially branded, all Nike is branded, especially major team licensed products from Nike. So this is the New York Knicks. And of course it sold first week of March. We got the March Madness or whatever with basketball. I know some sports. I don't know very much sports, but I know some sports. Sold for $8. Paid like $1 for it at the bins, so great. This is a rare video game sale for me, and I picked this up at the Dav for $1. It was in with the DVDs and CDs. Now this is in Japanese, and some people don't pick up foreign language games when they're out and about sourcing. I would like to say that that is sometimes a mistake, and that is specifically for a certain niche in the video game genre. So for most video games, especially most vintage video games, the Japanese version of the video game is going to have faster text. It's going to be more concise text and it's going to be faster text. Why is that important? That is important because in the speedrunning community, which is where you try to beat a video game as fast as possible, those extra like fraction of a second in dialogue that you have to like skip through can be the difference between, a world record and a PB. So the world record is a WR, or a PB, which is your personal best. Again, just info dumping on you all. So whenever I see Japanese versions of video games, even when they're not super popular, I do still pick them up because they do sell, and that most of the time it's for that specific reason if you're here in the States. So this is the Kintai Collection Kai Regular Edition for the PS Vita, which is the Sony handheld. Sold for $12.87 now and $3.95 for shipping. So this was a lovely sale. and now you know more about video games than maybe you necessarily wanted to. This is a Keith Urban t-shirt, almost vintage because it's from 2005. I picked this up at an estate sale. I paid $2 for the t-shirt. Sold for $14.87 and the buyer paid for shipping. This is like a women's small t-shirt. Bright pink, super cute. This is actually something that came from my own personal closet. I actually didn't pay anything for this. When I worked for Nike, I had a regular client that would come in and buy a bunch of stuff from me, and during the holiday gave me a $50 gift card to the Gap, and I bought this sweater. And I wore it for a while. This was alpaca and wool, and it was super soft, very warm, but it unfortunately doesn't fit me in the shoulders anymore, so I let it move on to a new home. It sold for $13. I'm perfectly happy with this. This is Lasher by Anne Rice. I pick up Anne Rice books, when hardcover Anne Rice books, whenever they're in decent shape at the bins, and that's where this came from. I did offer this on Whatnot for $2. It didn't sell there, but it did sell for $9.87 on eBay. So for 50 cents, it costs like $4.87 to ship, 50 cents original buy cost, so I made $4 off of this. Any of these Anne Rice hardcover books, they pretty much all sell for me within 2 weeks of listing them, and they all sell for $9.87. So I'm perfectly happy to make $4 every single time I pick one of these up. That is how I view that. This is a great purse brand to know. It is Isabella Fiori. Now, this purse only sold for $24 because this is probably one of the most demure of her bags I have ever seen. The more interesting, more colorful, more embellished her bags are, the more money you can get for them. So I do look out for this particular designer whenever I'm out. I did not realize it was hers until I looked inside, because I was like, oh, it's just a pretty leather purse. And then I looked inside, I was like, oh, well, I'm definitely picking this up now because I know that this will sell. It sold for $24, and of course the buyer paid for shipping. I paid $5 for this at a thrift store. This is a piece I picked up at the bins, and that is because it is Land's End, and I love picking up Land's End at the bins, especially pieces that are linen. And it sold for $10, and the buyer paid for shipping. So it did take a little while to sell, but once it got warm again, it sold. So amazing. I picked these two books up at the bins. I was so grateful that I found two of them from the same author. Now this is actually like the first and second book by this author. The author is Walter Mosley, and I paid 50 cents, so a quarter for each book, and I sold for $9.87 pretty much quick after I listed them. That was a lovely surprise. I bought a set of 7 of these Sakura Galaxy cups and saucers. I picked up, it was 7 cups and 7 saucers, and I believed I paid $7.99 for all of them, and 2 sets have already sold, so 2 cups and 2 saucers for $19.74, and the buyer paid $11.90 for shipping. So these are already, all the rest of them that sell are going to be pure profit, and I am so glad that they have started to sell. I always get a little nervous when I buy a lot of dishware because it does take up a lot of space, but they do consistently sell for me. Sometimes it just takes a little while for that first sale to happen, and then after it happens, they pretty much follow that. But I bought these because they were pretty. This is a vintage item. You can see I modeled this one. That's how long I've had this top. But vintage I love, so I don't expect it to sell quickly. There is some vintage pieces that do sell very fast, like that YSL tie sold very fast, and you can make vintage sell faster if you put it on the right platform, if you remodel it, if you do a bunch of different things. I'm okay for it to sit. I just like saving vintage pieces. This is from the 80s. It sold for $14.30. I believe I paid $4 for this at the thrift store. This is SF Masterworks. SF Masterworks are a UK import, as a UK publisher. They publish not only vintage science fiction books, that a lot of them are out of print currently. The only publisher that prints them currently is the SF Masterworks. And I regret putting these on eBay because I made way more money from them selling them on Whatnot, but I put them on both places to see what would do best, and now I know if I get any more brand new SF Masterworks to only put them on Whatnot because I have an audience over there for them. But it sold for $13.87 and I paid $4 for this from a dealer where I got a whole bunch of them from. And this is Rendezvous with Rama, which is a Nebula award-winning book by Arthur C. Clarke. This is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I paid $1 for this at the DAB, same time I bought the PS Vita game. The Name of the Wind is the first book in the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss, which is his most well-known work. It's pretty much all, the Kingkiller Chronicles are pretty much his only works, really. Still fingers crossed he will one day publish the third book in that series. This sold for $9.87. It is an audiobook, an actual physical audiobook. Yes, some of those still sell. This is not a pair of shoes that I would recommend picking up. I personally did not pick these up. These came to me in a thread-up shoe box, so I listed them to try to maximize as much money as I could get out of that box because I have not had great luck with the thread-up shoe boxes. But these sold for $10 and my buy cost was $6 per shoe. The buyer paid for shipping. I was just grateful to see these finally go. I know tons of people get shoe boxes and it's their favorite box, like Jessie from Gorgeous has amazing luck with them. It's just not, they just don't like me. I don't have the luck with them. But if you love them, you continue to get that box. This is a rib tank top from Aerie. I picked this up at the bins because, you know, I would have paid 50 cents for it. I put it up on Whatnot. It didn't sell on Whatnot, but it did sell on eBay. It sold for $5, so I didn't make a whole lot of money from this. Well, I made like $4, and it sold quickly, so happy with that. This is another bins item. I will pick up J. Crew at the bins, and we are going into short season. This is a pair of Stanton shorts from J. Crew. They are size 29, so it's skinny size. Whenever I have room in the title to do so, I do like to put the inseam length for shorts in all of my shorts. I do feel like there are people that want a specific length for their inseam. Some people want really short shorts and some people want really long shorts, but I do know that that is something that people want, so I try to put that in the title somewhere. Sold for $10.30, and these were ones that I purchased again from the bins. This is from that big book buyout I did last summer. I have 10 cents into this book. This is a brand new hardcover copy of The Guamante's Way by Marcel Proust. It sold for $19.87 with free shipping. It cost $5 to ship this, so I made $14 off of this book. This is a Lucky Brand shirt. I love picking up Lucky Brands at the bins, which is where I got this from, so I have probably $1 into the shirt because my bins are $1.59 per pound until you hit 20 pounds, and then it's $1.29 per pound, and this is a burnout t-shirt from Lucky, and so they're even lighter weight than a regular t-shirt. So I probably have less than $1 into this. I did put this up on Whatnot. It did not sell there, but it did sell when I put it on eBay for $12, and the buyer paid for shipping. This is something I wanted to try, and from the sale here that you see, I will not do that again. This is a Johnston & Murphy large 100% silk short sleeve crew neck shirt. I thought that because it was silk, it's a silk knit t-shirt, but I feel like the individual that is going to want to wear something like that is probably going to want a more elevated brand in that. And Johnston & Murphy, while they are expensive retail, it doesn't necessarily retain their value. Sold for $5. I picked this up at the bins, so that's where I like to try new things, is at the bins, because if it doesn't sell, it didn't hurt me too bad, but it did sell and I made $4 and I learned a good lesson. This is a vintage Anchor Hawking Fire King mug. It had an Oriole on one side and a Blue Jay on the other side. I have learned more about birds in the last year than I think I've ever wanted to know. But I picked this up because I knew Anchor Hawking Fire King was good. I paid $1 for this at the thrift store. It sold for $7.87, and it had a flaw. It had a little tiny flea bite at the top, but I disclosed it and someone still bought it. This is a graphic novel. I picked this up at the bins, so I have 25 cents into this. It did have some condition issues. The pages had tanned inside. It had someone's name written in it, and it still sold for $9.87, and of course free shipping here. I love picking up graphic novels and manga at the bins. Depending on the piece, I will still pick them up even if they have some condition issues, because they consistently sell for me, or I can sell them to Second and Charles, which is where some of them go when they're not worth it for reselling on eBay. This is a brand new with tags, the limited shirt. I picked this up at the bins, and I offered it for sale and whatnot. Didn't sell and whatnot, but it did sell on eBay, sold for $10. It was new with tags, it was navy, it was a nice like lightweight polyester like career top and a great size, so I figured regardless it would sell somewhere, and it did. The same with the Arthur C. Clarke that I showed you guys earlier. I wish I had just put all of these on Whatnot because I made so much more money there. But this is Philip K. Dick, who is a well-known New Age writer, SF New Age writer, wild man, but it was a new SF Masterworks, sold for $12.87, free shipping. Again, my buy cost was like $4, so I didn't really make a whole lot here, but again, I was trying to see, the dealer offered me a bunch, so I was trying to see which platform they would sell better on. They did sell very quickly on eBay, but they sold even faster on Whatnot, and again, I made more money, so I learned my lesson there. This next sale is actually a bundle, and it went to a viewer, so Janice, thank you very much. I really appreciate that you continue to buy from me, and I especially appreciate that you took advantage of my buy 3 get 1 free book deal. It means so much to me when you guys take advantage of that. I really wish not viewers would also take advantage of that, but you know, I just need to get a more robust offering in the books department. But when you see the books that I've listed, I never lose money on the books. I maybe don't make very much money, like 50 cents or something, on some of them that you see are $5.87. But if someone does the buy 3 get 1 free offer and they buy a whole bunch of $5.87 books and it's free shipping, that means that they paid, you know, $16 and some change, and it's probably only going to cost me like $5 to ship it to them, and so then I would make more money. I just had some questions of people that were like, how in the world are you making money off of books? And I never lose money on the books. I always make money on the books. It's just a matter of, am I making like, you know, $50 on a book, or am I making like 50 cents on a book? It just, I love books. Again, if you don't want to sell books, don't sell books. But in this instance, all of these books either came from the book buyout, so I have 10 cents into them. That's another thing, is I have really low buy cost. Or came from the bin, so I have like 25 cents into them. So all the books that she purchased from me, I have a total amount, again, Janice, thank you, because $1.20 into these books. And she bought them from me for $43.48. Now it did cost like $6 to ship these, but this is where I make good money off of books, is when people actually take advantage of the buy 3 get 1 free offering. So Janice, again, thank you. I hope you enjoyed them. It's actually the first time I found Evelyn Waugh ever. They are a well-known UK author. He is a well-known, he is a well-known UK author, but he is a like very vintage author. And it's just, I've never seen anything from him before at the bin, so that was really nice to be able to find like 2, and they were like matching copies from the 70s. I hope you love them, Janice, and thank you again. This is a record from Johnny Cash. This is a very vintage record from Johnny Cash. This is from 1966. It is an original pressing. It is not a reprint. I picked this up for $1 at an estate sale, and the only reason I picked this up for $1 at an estate sale is because I now have a record player to test records, and in addition, I have a whole bunch of like boxes to ship and inserts to use, because I managed to be at the right place, right time at Goodwill when a whole bunch of like vintage 70s and 80s like metal and rock came out, and I was like, I can't leave this behind. I know that this stuff is valuable, and so I went ahead and made the investment and bought a record player so I could test the records, and bought stuff so that way I could ship and sell records. And that was excessively lucrative. So now that I have the ability to test records, I will pick up records when I'm at estate sales or out at the thrift store. And I've even picked up one record at the bin so far that was in good enough shape to sell. But $1 into it, it cost $4.13 to ship this, so I only made $4, but I'm perfectly happy with that because I am using stuff that have essentially already been paid for from that big record lot. This is a vintage piece. This is from the 90s, and I don't know if this is a viewer sale or not. Tanya, I believe Tanya also purchased the New at Tags limited piece as well, but I'm not 100% sure. Tanya, if you are a viewer, thank you for buying both of these pieces from me. She bought them in separate transactions. It wasn't a bundle deal, so I don't know if she is a viewer, but if she is, I want to say thank you, and if she's not, I still super appreciate it. This is a vintage 90s piece, and it's a beautiful color block sweater, and it sold for $14, and they paid for shipping. This is the Red Badge of Courage. These little Barnes & Noble mini books are from like the 2000s, and I pick them up whenever I see them at the bins, which is where I found this one. I will pay 50 cents for them. They will sell for me all day long. I really like these. I like hardbound paperback size books. I like the permabounds. I like these classics by Barnes & Noble from the collector's library because they have a little ribbon in it and they're gilded on the edge. I will pick these up whenever I find them. If I don't want to keep it, I will then resell it. But this sold for $9.87, so I made $4. Happy with that. The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane is also considered required reading in a lot of places for school, so that's also why I normally pick up a good quality Red Badge of Courage whenever I find them, because I will either sell it by itself in this instance, or I will create like required reading lot as well. This is from that book buyout. This I paid 10 cents for at that big book buyout. It sold for $10.50 because this was not brand new, but I was perfectly happy to still pick it up because I knew it would sell for at least $10, and I was only paying 10 cents for it. This sold so fast. This sold literally within like a few hours of me listing it. It is a pair of Vans leopard print, because again, Mob Wife is in, but not everybody wants to wear Mob Wife heels. They were size 10 men's, or I'm sorry, women's 10, men's 8.5. They were the slip-on ones. I couldn't believe nobody picked these up at the bins. Because I bought them at the bins, it was only $3.50, and they sold for $22.38, so this was a great sale. I always look for shoes at the bins, but I don't always find it. I either have a good shoe day at the bins, or I don't pick up any at all. Speaking of the bins, I did pick this up at the bins. It's a Lacoste boys polo. I did offer this on Whatnot and nobody purchased it, but it sold very quickly when I put it up on eBay for my full asking price of $14.87. I will pick up Lacoste when it is legit. When I find it, either at the bins and sometimes in retail locations. It just depends on how much they're charging it at the retail location, but it always sells really quick for me. Another bins pickup, I will pick up Columbia as well at the bins if they're in good shape, and we are going into short season, and this even had a flaw. It had a little tiny spot on the bottom, and it's still sold for my full asking price of $12.87, and of course the buyer paid for shipping, and I have $1 into this, and it didn't sell on Whatnot, but as I said, it still sold pretty fast on eBay. This was a very, very early mistake from me. I've talked to death how much I absolutely love buying and selling vintage otagiri. So I had my otagiri blinders on when I bought this. It's from 1983. It is a ceramic teddy bear cookie jar. And you can see here that the buyer paid $14.87 for shipping. And that is because I put the wrong dollar amount in there. Normally, if you guys have been looking at my sale, see that 87 is how I end my full price listings. And so I was probably doing multiple listings at the same time, and I just put the price of an item into the shipping instead of the amount of shipping. And this thing went to Hawaii. So I also paid $6 for this, and I literally bought this, I think, in 2019. And it just now sold. You can see it took until 2022 for me to list it. So not only was it big, bulky, and awkward and made it so I didn't list it, it was also, took a while to sell. So definitely don't recommend picking this up unless you have like an antique booth where someone can buy it outright, and then maybe if you get it for cheap enough, do that. It also had a chip in the bottom front. Again, so many mistakes with this one. This is like one of the first videos I ever made on this channel showed this jar, but I will never pick this up again. But I'm so glad it's gone, and I made like $4 from this sale. I didn't lose money, but I only made like $4 from the sale, and I'm just never again. This is another bins pickup. I paid 25 cents for this because it is a paperback. This is A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James, and it sold for $7.87. Now, it did cost $4.87 for me to ship this, so I only made $2 from this book. Again, if that is not for you and your business model, don't do it. I do this because I love books. Books are easy listings for me, so if I'm having a very low energy day, which I am disabled, I do have several disabilities, I can still put up a lot of listings and make some money and keep my store active and save some books from the landfill because, again, I got this from the bins. This I got from that big book buyout. I have 10 cents into this book. It sold for $13.75 free shipping. I made like $7 or $8 off of this one, and it was in brand new condition. I would love every month to have a book buyout like I did last year. That was the most amazing thing. I made so much money in August that year because of the fact that like I had between Whatnot and eBay for books. It was amazing. This is a vintage 1996 Garth Brooks t-shirt. I picked this up actually at Diversity. I have found, well actually I didn't even find this. Some dude across from me found one of them, and then I went to go look after he left the rack, and I found a second one. So two same size, one has already sold, and then this was the last one to sell. I paid $1 for this. It sold for $22 and the buyer paid for shipping. Amazing. This is Robert Stock. It is a Hawaiian convertible car polo. I paid $5 for this at the thrift store. It sold for $15, and the buyer of course paid for shipping. I had hoped that this would sell faster and for more money, but it didn't sell until I marked it down and relisted it, and then it still sold on an offer. But I still made like 10 bucks from it. So perfectly happy with that. Another book from that big book buyout, so I have 10 cents into this. Again, the only reason I bought this one is because it was new and it was 10 cents. Sold for $13.38, again with free shipping because it's a book. This next item is a pair of Fry flats. I was so excited when I found a pair of Fry flats, and even more excited when they were only $6. And they sold it for $39.87, and of course the buyer paid for shipping. These were absolutely gorgeous. Like, I felt them because they looked cute, and when I felt the leather I was like, all right, these got to be something. And then I saw the F logo and I was like, done, you're mine. These are great, love this. All right, so this is a fun sale. So I actually found book 2 through 5 at the bins. So I had $1 into finding book 2 through 5 at the bins. And this is one of the few instances where I will either wait until I have a set or like the first book. So I was either hoping to find the first book, but I didn't find the first book at the bins. And so what I ended up doing was going to Second and Charles. And I have a credit there because I've talked about before how I will go to the bins and I will have a big box of books to list on eBay, a bag of books to list on Whatnot, and a bag of books to take to Second and Charles for store credit. And that is so that way I can use it, 1, to buy books for myself for my book channel, 2, to turn books that wouldn't sell on Whatnot for me into books that will sell on Whatnot for me, and also to help fill sets because, you know, I'm using store credit for that at that point. And that's what I did here. So I paid $3.25 in store credit to get the first book so I could sell the whole set. So the buy cost is $4.25. But I was able to put the whole set together and sell the whole set for $19.87. I don't always do that, but I try to do it when it is available to me. And so this is a 1 through 5 Haddix set. These are juvenile books, so like middle school age kids books, and this was a great sale for me. Whew, this is a long video. All right, this is another vintage tie. That's a tie I picked up at the same time I picked up the YSL tie, so I have $1.50 into this book. I was so surprised at how fast this tie sold, mostly because I couldn't find a whole lot of history for this vintage maker. It's Adrian, but it was like a stylized Adrian. I think it's because it's from the 60s and it also happened to be like a normal length tie at 57 inches, which is unusual for a tie from the 60s. Depends on the gentleman that was wearing it. But regardless, it sold for $12.87, literally the day I listed it, which for the fact that it's a vintage tie from not a well-known maker, that shocked me. But again, another reason why I love selling ties. So $1.50 into $12.87 plus shipping. I think that that's great. And then the last book I have to share with you is another Ben's Find, so 50 cents into this, and I will pick up almost everything I see with mushrooms on it. The mushroom fad has not faded, it has continued. If it is like, pretty much if it has mushrooms in it, it sells immediately for me, and that's exactly what happened here. This book sold the day that I listed it. For a full asking price of $10.87. It is a book about mushrooms, so how to identify them and molds and how fungus grows and how to grow them yourself. It's a full book for that. But I knew that this would sell quickly. It did cost $5 to ship it and 50 cents to buy it, but I made $5 literally as soon as I listed it. So I'm more than happy with that. And that is everything. Again, a lot of books because books are like my bread and butter, and then of course a bunch of other sales. But I really enjoy doing this and I hope to continue to do this. Again, Tanya, if you are a viewer, thank you again for your two purchases from me. And Janice, thank you again for buying books from me. And thank you everyone for watching this video if you've managed to make it this far. Miss Moxie appreciates it as well. I don't know if she knows she has adoring fans, but she definitely acts up when I have the camera on. But thank you guys so much, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, bye! Bye. Hero, hero. I wanna be a hero, hero. Oh, the hero comes, I can hear the drums and a horse is